Most people think hitting 80 means slowing down, but the truth is, your body and brain actually unlock hidden shifts that can completely change the way you live. In this video, I'll reveal the 5 most dramatic changes that every single person experiences once they reach 80. These aren't myths or cliches, they're transformations backed by medical science and real stories. Some will surprise you, and the last one could flip how you see aging forever. Stay with me, because if you understand these 5 changes, you can turn what feels like decline into the most empowering decade of your life. I'm Dr. Eli Morgan, and after working with thousands of older adults, I've seen firsthand how these shifts play out. Let me guide you through what to expect and how to make each change work in your favor. Sign 1. Energy and sleep. Your internal clock resets. When people cross into their 80s, one of the first things they notice isn't pain or stiffness. It's that their energy follows a completely different rhythm than it did for decades. What surprises most is that this is not weakness, it's biology adapting. The shift. At this stage of life, the brain's master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, deep inside the hypothalamus, starts running earlier. That means melatonin is released sooner, you feel tired earlier in the evening, and you naturally wake up closer to sunrise. Research from the University of Surrey even found that older adults' core body temperature cycles shift forward by up to 2 hours, proving it's not in your head. Your clock has literally reset. Instead of interpreting this as "I can't keep up," understand that your body is moving into a rhythm designed for better repair and immune support. Deep sleep, the kind that clears waste proteins from the brain, often happens earlier in the night, which is why aligning with this schedule can protect against memory decline and even lower risk of Alzheimer's. Take Helen, 83, who used to fight against her new schedule, trying to stay awake for late-night TV, dragging herself through mornings, and feeling exhausted. Once she stopped forcing her old routine and allowed herself to sleep at 8:30 and wake at 5, she found she had more energy for gardening, volunteering, and even a morning walking group. Her day felt longer and more productive, not shorter. 3 practical adjustments. Track your natural peak hours. For 1 week, write down when you feel most alert and when fatigue hits. You'll notice a consistent pattern. Build your tasks around it. Stack energy where it matters. Put your important activities, social calls, exercise, even hobbies, in the morning hours when your alertness is sharpest. Create a wind-down ritual. Dim lights, turn off screens, and let your body's melatonin rise naturally. Think of it not as going to bed early, but training your brain for better memory tomorrow. The earlier bedtime isn't a limitation. It's a doorway to higher quality energy. By leaning into it, you're not losing hours. You're reclaiming clarity at the times when your body functions best. Have you noticed your energy shifting earlier in the day? Drop a quick comment. Morning person or night owl? I'd love to see which one you are. Sign 2. Social circle and relationships. By the time you reach your 80s, something else begins to stand out. Your circle of friends doesn't look the same. Some connections fade, some disappear, and at first it can feel like loss. But here's the hidden truth. This change is a form of refinement, not decline. Psychologists call this socio-emotional selectivity. As we age, we naturally start prioritizing depth over breadth. The chatter of casual acquaintances matters less, and the relationships that give true meaning rise to the surface. In fact, studies from Stanford show older adults report higher satisfaction with their social lives precisely because they invest in fewer, more nourishing connections. I've seen this in Robert, 81, who used to feel guilty about letting certain friendships drift away. When he realized it wasn't neglect but evolution, he stopped forcing empty weekly coffee chats and instead poured his time into his two closest friends and a local chess group. The result? His loneliness scores went down while his sense of belonging went up. So what can you do with this shift? First, give yourself permission to let some relationships fade. It's not betrayal. It's nature helping you conserve emotional energy. Second, intentionally seek out new companions who share your current passions. At 80, that might mean joining a photography class, a walking club, or even online discussion groups designed for older adults. Third, deepen the bonds that remain. That could be as simple as calling one person every day or starting a tradition. Sunday breakfast, monthly book swap, weekly video call, and finally, drop the pressure to socialize like you did at 40 or 50. You don't need dozens of people to feel alive. You need a handful of the right ones. Have you noticed your own social circle changing with age? Share one word in the comments. Smaller if yours has shrunk. Stronger if it's become more meaningful. Sign 3. Time and priorities. One of the most profound shifts at 80 isn't physical at all. It's how you experience time. Suddenly, the endless horizon of decades ahead feels more like a finite landscape. But this isn't cause for despair. In fact, it can unlock one of the most liberating powers of aging, the ability to live with precision. Instead of scattering attention across dozens of obligations, people in their 80s often find themselves saying no more easily. And research backs it up. A 2020 Harvard study found that older adults who consciously narrowed their focus to a few meaningful activities reported higher life satisfaction than those who tried to do it all. Time may feel shorter, but it feels richer. Take Margaret, 84. She used to attend every church committee, family event, and volunteer shift she was asked to. By 79, she was exhausted, resentful, and constantly rushed. When she turned 80, she made a radical decision. She cut her calendar in half, keeping only the 2 roles that truly brought her joy: mentoring younger women and hosting her grandchildren on Fridays. The difference was immediate. Her days felt calmer, but her fulfillment soared. So how do you master this shift yourself? One tool I recommend is a time audit. For 1 week, track every hour you spend. At the end, mark each activity as energizing, neutral, or draining. You'll quickly see which ones deserve to stay. The next step is giving yourself permission to decline. Practice saying, "I'd love to, but I'm focusing my time differently now." You'll be surprised how often people respect that honesty. Third, invest heavily in activities that bring lasting satisfaction, not just quick distraction. This could be creative projects, family traditions, mentoring, or faith practices, things that build legacy rather than kill time. And lastly, communicate openly with your loved ones about this new approach. Let them know it's not about withdrawal, but about making the most of the years ahead. The shift in time perspective at 80 is not a countdown. It's a compass. Instead of being pulled in every direction, you get to choose where to shine your energy. Have you noticed yourself valuing time differently as you've grown older? Comment below with one word that describes your biggest priority today. Sign 4. Memory and cognition. When people think about aging, the first fear that comes to mind is memory loss. At 80, yes, the brain changes. You may forget names more often or need an extra beat to recall a word, but here's the twist. While some speed of recall fades, other mental abilities actually peak. And these are the ones that matter most for living wisely. Neuroscientists call this crystallized intelligence. It's the ability to recognize patterns, draw on decades of stored experience, and make judgments that younger minds can't yet manage. In fact, studies from Cambridge University show that older adults often outperform younger ones in tasks that require strategy, language nuance, or emotional interpretation. Consider Alan, 82. He laughs about how often he misplaces his glasses, but when his granddaughter started a new business, it was Alan who spotted pitfalls in the plan that no one else saw. His decades of work, mistakes, and successes gave him a mental library she could never Google. That's not decline. That's a superpower. Still, this new balance requires adjustment. Since the short-term scratch pad isn't as reliable, external tools become essential. Write things down. Use calendars, voice notes, or reminder apps. These aren't signs of weakness. They're extensions of your brain. Second, challenge yourself with activities that require recognizing patterns. Chess, bridge, crosswords, or even analyzing news articles can all reinforce the strengths your brain favors now. Third, continue learning in ways that build on your past. If you were a teacher, dive into mentoring. If you loved engineering, explore new technologies with that foundation. Adding new layers to old knowledge keeps cognition sharp. And above all, reframe memory slips for what they are: adjustments, not collapse. Forgetting where the keys are is frustrating, but the wisdom to know which battles in life are worth fighting is priceless. So if you ever worry, "I'm slower than I used to be," remember this: speed fades, but depth grows. At 80, your mind is like an oak tree, not as quick to sprout new leaves, but rooted, vast, and strong. I'd love to know, have you noticed yourself becoming better at big picture thinking, even if little details slip away? Share your experience in the comments. Sign 5, freedom and authenticity. Of all the changes that arrive at 80, this one is the most liberating. It's not about your body, your memory, or your schedule. It's about your identity. By this age, you've worn so many roles: parent, worker, neighbor, provider, and now many of those roles begin to loosen. For the first time, you have the freedom to live without those masks. This is the stage where authenticity becomes the default. You don't have to impress, compete, or live up to someone else's script anymore. And people who lean into this shift often describe it as the most joyful season of their lives. Take Rosa, 85. For decades, she dressed conservatively, worked quietly, and rarely shared her opinions. But after turning 80, she began painting with bold colors, wearing bright scarves, and even joined a local radio group to discuss current events. Friends say she seems 20 years younger, not because she reversed time, but because she finally allowed herself to be fully seen. Why does this happen? Psychologists call it role release. As old obligations fall away, energy that was once tied up in responsibility flows into self-expression. And studies on superagers, older adults who maintain both health and happiness, show that authenticity is one of the strongest predictors of resilience. So how can you step into this freedom yourself? Start with small experiments. Wear something you've always wanted to wear, but never dared. Say yes to a hobby you abandoned decades ago. Try writing, painting, or even dancing. Don't overthink it. The point is to rediscover play. Second, give yourself permission to disappoint others. Not everyone will understand your new priorities or style. That's okay. At 80, protecting your truth is more important than pleasing every critic. Third, explore communities that celebrate self-expression, whether it's an art class, a storytelling group, or a travel club for older adults. Surrounding yourself with others on the same path multiplies your courage. And finally, remember that authenticity doesn't require big dramatic gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as telling someone you love them more often or admitting when you need help. Real freedom comes not from perfection, but from honesty. This is why so many people say their 80s bring the deepest kind of peace. It's not because life is easier. It's because the weight of pretending is finally gone. So let me ask you, what's one thing you've always wanted to do or say, but never gave yourself permission for? Write it in the comments. You might be surprised how many others feel the same. Final. So let's step back. Once you reach 80, 5 powerful changes unfold. Your body's clock resets, your social circle reshapes, your sense of time sharpens, your memory transforms, and your truest self emerges. None of these are signs of collapse. They are signs of evolution. The human design shifting into its most refined form. Think about what this really means. You are not just older. You are becoming specialized, more focused, more selective, more authentic. This is not the end of growth, but a new chapter of mastery. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 changes surprised you the most? And which one do you feel already happening in your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your story may inspire someone else reading. And if you know a friend, a parent, or a grandparent who's approaching this stage, share this video with them. Sometimes a single perspective shift is all it takes to turn fear of aging into excitement about the years ahead. Finally, if you found this helpful, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next video where we'll dive into practical strategies for thriving, not just surviving. At every stage of later life, we're building a community here, and you're an essential part of it, because once you understand how these changes work, you stop seeing 80 as the end of the road and start seeing it as the beginning of freedom.